And welcome into the JUCO Rush. I'm Mike Fraser. He's Robert Williamson. This is where we talk JUCO football, and a lot to talk about tonight as the NJCAA playoffs. They're on the horizon, Robert. We're getting close to money time in the NJCAA, big fella.
Hey, man, this is exciting. And, man, you got some of the best teams in the country still playing football this week, despite the fact that the regular season is over. You got the conference playoffs and more. Loving every minute of it.
Man, and you look at the way things are shaping up, it could be a clean-cut situation for the committee if certain teams win. We'll dive into that in a moment. Or it could be wild and crazy with a bunch of two-loss teams, and we'll talk about that as we dive into the JUCO Rush, brought to you by Pepsi. Allen Beverages down in Gulfport, Mississippi. They respect and they understand the importance of community college athletics and an education. Allen Beverages down in Gulfport, proud partners of the JUCO Rush. Let's take a look at the NJCAA top 15, and you see right there, no changes at the top. Iowa Western remaining number 1. There's Hutchinson, bouncing at the door at 3. Georgia Military, a solid performance, beat a good Lackawanna team, Robert. And you see those two-loss teams banging on the door on the NJCAA top 15, partner.
Man, and I'm going to stick with it. You know, I started, the first week of the year, and now here we are in the latter stages, and so far, that is the fact that we're going to have all one-loss teams and no two-loss teams. I'm sticking with that prediction, although this week could change that stuff around quite a bit.
Getting dicey. And let's take a look at the JUCO Rush top 6 teams as we dive into this here as we wind down the last couple of games here in the regular season. I'm going to go first. You look at mine there. I've got, of course, Iowa Western at number 1. I still like Hutchinson at number 2. Georgia Military there at number 3. And then you look down the list there, Northwest, just a quality win over a very good Mississippi Gulf Coast team. And then you see my 5 and my 6 slots as I have those two teams banging on the door. East Central in that number 6 seed. I've got Navarro up there as well, Robert.
Man, I toyed with putting Navarro in my top 6.
What held you back? What held you back?
Do what?
What held you back?
I don't know. I guess I'm waiting until we get a couple of games into the postseason. You got the semifinals this week taking on Cisco, and then the championship. I do think it is very possible in my top 6 that Navarro moves Snow out, but it's based on how they perform over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, you see there with your teams up there, you still like Georgia Military in the 2 slot, don't you?
Definitely should be the number 2 team, Mike. I mean, we've talked about this previously, and we're going to rehash old news. And 2, I noticed where the NJCAA polls are concerned, they've actually got Hutch and Georgia Military both with the same total number of points, 135. To me, that almost looks like a poised to leapfrog the Bulldogs if Hutch wins this week, which I don't agree with. I think Georgia Military College is worthy of the number 2 spot. I like Hutch, obviously. They're a great team. But Georgia Military, quality wins on the road. Lackawanna, number 9 in the country. Tyler beat them in Texas. Snow beat them in Utah. Georgia Military deserves the 2 ranking.
Look, even though I have Georgia Military in the 3 slot, I think, Robert, just my experience at covering the NJCAA, I think Georgia Military is a lock with the committee at the number 2 seed. I wouldn't put much thought into those points. I just think the committee, I just don't think they're going to leapfrog Hutch if they beat Garden City here this weekend. So I think Georgia Military stays locked in that 2 slot, even though I would put them at the 3. But I like I said, I think they're locked and loaded. No need to fear, Robert. I think Georgia Military, according to in the committee's eyes, will remain on the 2 line.
Let me say this, though. Here's the interesting thing going into this weekend. Georgia Military is the only team that is guaranteed a top 4 finish. They've wrapped up their season at number 2. And Iowa Western, Hutch, and Northwest Mississippi have all still got games to go.
Yes, they do. And later on, we'll talk about those 2 lost teams. You're right. Does Iowa Western, with a loss this late in the year, if they lose at Highland, does that drop them out of the 4 slot? I find that hard to believe, but they would certainly be on the fence. And my goodness, what about Hutch? What if Hutch falls to Garden City? Look, Kiyoshi and Garden City, they're going to be ready. They're going to give Hutch their best shot. And with DeJuan Lacey there at running back, I don't think this is going to be a 38-0 game like it was with Iowa Western. So man, that is something the committee wants to avoid. They just want to look. It's nice and clean cut for the committee, right, Robert? If Northwest wins, they're 10-1. They're going to get a playoff spot. Iowa Western wins, it's obvious they're going to host and get a playoff spot. If Hutchinson wins, I guess the only drama would be, do they leapfrog Georgia Military? But it would be a very easy committee meeting as they sit around the table and figure out who gets in. But if not, Robert, it's mayhem, my friend.
Oh, indeed it is, with a ton of 2-loss teams and even some 2-loss teams outside of our top 6. I mean, you've got Navarro, I don't. I've got Snow, you don't. But there's also Mississippi Gulf Coast. There's also Coffeyville, 2-loss teams. I don't think they've got a chance, though, by the way.
No, they don't.
I think those two are out.
Yeah, I think the only 2-loss team that's not on my board is Snow. And you see the NJCAA has Snow at number 5. Snow, I think, plays Sussex this weekend. They're going to win that game, be at 9-2. So Snow, it's a long shot. They're behind the 8 ball. Lots got to roll their way. Gulf Coast won't make it. Their season's over. You look at those 2-loss teams. Coffeyville won't make it. They lost head-to-head to Hutch. And I think they also collected a win due to the forfeiture of the Garden City. So Coffeyville's not in the picture at all. Hey, I tell you, a couple of people that are in the picture is our players of the week, Robert. This week, we're not just going to show you photos of them. We want to talk to them. And I tell you, a guy that I've been high on, Robert, you've heard me talk about this young man from the get-go. Cyncir Bowers, the running back from Iowa Central, 202 yards rushing. He's one of the best all-purpose guys in recent years, plays for Iowa Central, and he sat down with the JUCO rush.
Cyncir Bowers, the outstanding running back for Iowa Central, with us. Cyncir, first question I got to ask you, how's a Harrisburg, PA guy wind up in Iowa?
It's kind of a long story, but I'll make it short. So I was getting recruited by a guy from LIU at school, and him and Talter were real close. So once what's it called? So he was recruiting me, but I ended up going to a prep, and then it didn't really work out the prep. And then I guess he put in a good word for me with Tato. And then in January, I was here, and ever since then it's been good.
It's been real good. You can see the stats: 202 yards last week, 826 yards on the season, 11 touchdowns in 10 games, and that's just on the ground. You've scored touchdowns through the air. You've scored touchdowns returning kicks as well. So it has been a sensational season. I got to ask you, where pass receptions are concerned, 23, that's a fairly decent number for a running back. Is that something you did in high school as well, or was it new to you when you reached the collegiate level?
No, in high school, so I was in the slot a lot, catching bubbles a lot. So coming here and catching the swing passes and just the seams and stuff like that is second nature, really.
161's all-purpose yards. You're returning kickoffs, you're returning punts, you're catching passes, you're running the football. If you had to give something up, I mean, if there was one of the 4 that had to go, which one would it be and why?
One. So you say returning, rushing, pass, receiving. I say returning, I guess. I don't know, but really none of them.
You're hesitant there. See, you like that part of the game too, though.
Yeah, I love returning, so I really don't want that one to go. But rushing and passing, I feel is more.
Is it a little different, though? I mean, returning a kick, you're looking at the field, and you've kind of got an advanced idea of where you may be taking the football. Is that true?
Yeah. Being a running back make returning so much easier, because once you get the ball, you're a running back again. You just gotta find a hole and hit it.
202 yards against Garden City. I noticed you didn't catch the football that day, but you ran it more, 202, and more per carry, 10 yards versus right at 6.5 to 7. What was the difference in the Garden City game as compared to the prior games?
Trusting my keys. I feel like all season I've been like rushing, and like Coach Simmons, my running back coach, he's been telling me just trust your keys, be patient. And I feel like that game, I just like everything he told me that week. I felt like I just did a good job, like presenting it to everybody else, and the line was sled dog just moving, so it was a good day.
You're 5-5 on the year, got one game left. Butler is on the schedule. What is the mentality of the team going into this Butler game? I mean, I know you want to win the football game, but is there a little additional emphasis in the possibility of having a winning year?
For sure. That's everything to us. Toto, he telling us like we really got to win this game. And last year, actually, Butler beat them like pretty bad. So we really just trying to get our get back revenge.
One last question. You're a freshman, but next year back to Iowa Central, is there somewhere else that you see yourself going from the standpoint of a 4-year college? What's ahead for Cyncir?
Well, I didn't qualify to high school, so most likely, for sure, I'm gonna be back here next year and hopefully do this or better.
Well, I know the coaches and I know the players and I know the fans are delighted to hear that. Yeah. Cyncir Bowers, it has been a sensational year. 826 rushing, 23 receptions with a couple of TDs tossed in, a kickoff return for a touchdown. Great year, 161 all-purpose yards. Cyncir Bowers, thanks so much for being our guest.
No problem.
And there he is, Cyncir Bowers. And I'm salty I missed that interview. I had some car trouble, and son of a gun. That's a guy I've been looking forward to getting in all year. Great job on that. That's a good kid. That's a good football player. And we want to do our part to spread the word on what a talented young athlete Cyncir is, man.
Yeah, he's kind of like a hidden gem. I mean, when I went and looked at the stats, I was like, man, this guy, we probably should have been talking a heck of a lot more about him over the course of the season. He's had a great year.
No doubt about it. Another guy that's had a quality year, quarterback for Navarro, has his team in the hunt for an NJCAA coveted playoff spot. And that is Mason Shorb from Navarro. He sat down with the JUCO Rush.
Mason Shorb, the outstanding quarterback for Navarro. And Navarro, after a couple of losses, about 2 or 3 games into the year, man, they have cranked it up and are playing some great football coming into conference playoff time. Mason, great to have you with us.
Robert, thank you so much for having me.
2 games in a row you lose to, I believe it was Blinn and Cisco, and then all of a sudden you just blow away Trinity Valley. And I mean, Trinity Valley is a pretty good team. They're a little bit above 500, 61-10. And then Navarro has been on a roll since then. What was the difference between those 2 losses and then that win over Trinity Valley and the continuation of the W's?
Well, the first loss we actually took was to Kilgore. It was a tough loss against Kilgore, but then after that hard Blinn loss, we all came together as a team, and we knew like that was something we never wanted to let happen again. And we knew one thing we had to do was finish games offensively, defensively, and special teams. And the coaches even said it themselves, like that we are all gonna like push harder and go harder than we ever have. And we really honed in on everything that we've made mistakes on in those 2 weeks. And then ever since there, we've excelled offensively and defensively. Defensive players have been flying to the ball. All 11 of them are swarming. The secondary is locking things down, and everybody in the trenches is just doing work. And then offensively, the receivers have been able to get loose, and the O-line has been protecting really well. And obviously Clay and Deshaun Brundage are running the ball really well. So, everybody's really just firing on all cylinders, and ever since then, it's just been a very smooth sailing season. We've been able to keep everything very even and very consistent, and we just look to keep that going throughout these next games.
Well, man, there's also a quarterback that's been doing a pretty good job as well. Back-to-back 300-yard games, 359 last week. So you played a big role in the success of Navarro over the course of the last, all year long, but especially the last couple of weeks in 300 yards plus. Those 2 games, especially the one with 359 in it, what was the difference for you?
I mean, I don't think there was anything different with me other than the coaches and like how much they helped me throughout the week. Like Coach Crouch, Coach Taylor, and Coach Chili and Coach Pat, the offensive coaches. We all like talked together in different scenarios, and everybody gave me like very good pointers. And the other quarterbacks as well. We were all like in meetings. We did extra film. We did extra. We broke down the film into different ways, like different formations and different down and distances. And we really tried to hone in on what the defense was doing. And we were really studying a lot of things. And Coach Chili, and he gave us a very good look with the scout team guys all week and tried to put every defensive front and possibly every blitz that we would see. And that's been shown on film. And then, Coach Taylor did a great job, teaching the O-linemen, the different stunts that they would probably do up front. And, everything was picked up blitz-wise. So, I mean, I don't think anything really changed for me. It was just all of us as a team, including the receivers, everybody was just on the same page, and everybody was just we were really taking everything like 10 steps farther. We were just trying to get a very any edge we could on our opponent. Coach Pat would go in there with the receivers and, he'd do extra work. I think they're actually in the gym behind me right now on the jug machine getting some work in. So, over here we're always trying to get some extra work in. Everybody's grinding. Everybody's doing a great job. So I think my answer for what changed for me is nothing much. I think everybody's just going hard.
I mentioned that it was Cisco, and Glenn, you corrected that. I appreciate that because it's Cisco that you've got this week in the semifinals. What in particular, is there a different plan, a different prep for you where a Cisco team is concerned as compared to, say, the prior 10? Or is it just another day at the stadium?
Well, every week we take it one game at a time, and we don't try to change anything. We try to keep everything consistent. So I think, everyone says it's hard to beat a team twice, and this is our second time playing Cisco. But I think if you just keep everything consistent and don't change anything, and if what you're doing is working, there's no reason to change anything. So as a team, we've kept everything the same, and we've kept the intensity the same. Everybody's been going hard, and everybody's been all hands on deck. They know that right now nothing is guaranteed other than one more day. This whole week we've been saying it's our last Monday. It could be our last Tuesday. It could be our last Thursday. We can't take anything for granted because nothing's guaranteed other than Saturday at 1 p.m. we are playing Cisco. So if we don't handle that, then we don't get anything else past that. And we've been saying since the spring and since the summer workouts, we want 2 rings. We want a conference ring and we want a national ring. So that's
and there's still a chance for a national ring. Of course, a 2-loss team is going to be tough for one to get in, but there is that shot. And obviously that first shot is to knock off Cisco. Before I let you go, though, you're a sophomore. Where are you headed next year?
As of right now, I have a few schools talking to me. Nobody has offered me yet, but I'm still weighing out my options, and I'm looking for a home, and any coach and any coaching staff that believes in my talents and believes that what I want to do or what I can do on the field. I'm just waiting for that opportunity anywhere it comes. So I have nothing right now, but
you will have. I'll go ahead and I think you're going to have, because you've obviously shown it on the field, including last week's performance with 359 yards, 3 touchdowns, and heck, you decided to go ahead and run one in for a score as well. So
little QB sneak, touch push is what they call it, I think.
Well, it was a great day. You've had a great season, and I feel certain you're headed somewhere. And I want to say thank you very much for being our guest on the JUCO Rush.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Your team or business to truly stand out, look no further than SportFX Designs. They specialize in high-impact sport graphics that demand attention. Whether it's custom animated logos, sleek animations, or full branding solutions, SportFX Designs delivers professional eye-catching visuals that elevate your brand. Head over to www.sportfxdesigns.com and see how they can bring your visions to life.
Right, another great kid, huh? Mason Shorb. getting it done on the field, first-class young man. And again, these are the stories. You see these guys down here at the JUCO level, man. These are good football players, and they're good kids too. So happy to see people who are good at their craft and are good people be successful. And I'm with you. He's going somewhere. We'll just have to wait and see here in December or maybe in February. So, yeah, man, those were two good guys, man. And again, I'm salty that I couldn't get in here to do these interviews. I mean, you did a great job with them, but man, those are two guys that really have been following them all year. Really wanted to talk to them, but heck, if Navarro gets the job done, maybe we have him back on. And look, Landon Vessel, another good-looking quarterback for Cisco. I mean, that's a game I'm looking forward to watching this weekend, man. I mean, what a job Cisco has done. That program has been resurrected, and they're playing good football. And Texas again, they beat each other up, and here they are in their postseason. 4 quality teams going at it, Robert.
Oh, yeah. I mean, hey, the conference games this weekend, Texas and Mississippi, they're just terrific ball games. I mean, you're not getting a slouch in the Lone Star State nor in Mississippi this weekend.
Yeah, and that JUCO Weekly Trophy is just starting to come around the corner, December the 17th. We're about a month out from that right now. So let's take a look at the JUCO Weekly Trophy, Chase, and let's see what we have here. My guys, you see some of these same names. Hunter Decker's the guy that's up there. Waymon Jordan, Demarion Petit for me. Keenan Phillips, man, just grinding it and just bringing it every week. That's a guy that's made my list, and it's going to be hard for him to get off my list here as we go down the stretch. Darian White right there as well, getting it done, Robert.
Oh, yeah, and on my list, I've got 3 that I just feel like are definitely in, and that's Deckers, Petit, and Jordan. I mean, they have consistently, game in, game out. Petit, a little off last week, 18 carries, 45 yards. Mm-hmm. And in my book, if you have a couple of those games in a season, well, I mean, it's been a great year, but are you still in the hunt for the JUCO Weekly Trophy? We'll see. But I list my last 2 as up for grabs because there are so many different names that could drop in. Keenan Phillips, obviously, is one. I think we talked to one today, or maybe even 2 today, with Cyncir Bowers and Mason Shorb. And then, of course, you got the 2 linebackers from Tyler, and on the list goes. So I got my solid 3 and my maybe 2.
Oh, Noah Fleming's another one, talented football player as well. Tavion Atkinson, good-looking defensive end. He's up there in the sack. So, yeah, no doubt that JUCO Weekly Trophy will be presented December 17th down in Texas, the night before the national championship game, and we are pumped and excited about that event. Before they can get to that game December 18th, they've got a playoff they've got to get to. And we talked about it earlier, and Robert, I think it's worth talking about it. Let's just do the what-if scenarios. Let's just take a look at the what-ifs. What if there are multiple 2-loss teams, okay? Now the committee's really got some thinking to do. So you see here, what if Navarro wins out, Robert? That puts them to 8-2. Snow's going to win. They're going to finish 9-2. What if East Central beats Northwest? You got 3 2-loss teams. Oh, and by the way, what if Garden City beats Hutchinson? And what if Highland upsets Iowa Western? Now you've got bedlam, baby. You've got bedlam in that room as they decide who gets in. And you know who's going to be sitting back just smiling and having a good old time? Is our guy Rob Manchester, because he is locked and loaded, and I think they're the 2 seed. I don't think Hutch will jump them. I would put Hutch at the 2 slot. I don't think the committee will. Hutch will be probably be the 3 if they win. Your thoughts on that 2-loss scenario?
Well, again, we go back to, as I mentioned previously, my prediction at the start of the year was there wouldn't be a 2-loss team in, and there wouldn't be an unbeaten team in. They would all be 1-loss teams. I got to stick with that. Although I got to admit, I'm getting a little nervous, a little jittery, because there are a lot of 2-loss teams that obviously have got a chance. I don't think Iowa Western is going to lose. I mean, I know that's a big ball game. It's the end of the year. It's the Super Bowl for Highlands, but you can't go against Coach Strohmeyer. I mean, he's
neither, Robert.
Winning.
I'm not saying he's going to lose. I'm just saying, what if?
Well, true.
So let's get right to the chase here. Let's just say everything happens. Let's say Hutch loses. Let's say Iowa Western loses. East Central upsets Northwest. Navarro runs the table. And keep in mind, these teams got to sit around for a week because Navarro's got to finish their playoff. They won't do that. until the 23rd. So you tell me, if they're all 2-loss teams, who you taking and where you putting them?
Georgia Military is number 1 in the nation, with everybody else having 2 losses. Number 2. Well, let me tell you who I think is in the top 4. I think Iowa Western is still in the top 4. I don't know if Hutch is. If Hutch loses to Garden City after a loss to Butler, I don't know if they are still in the top 4. I think East Central becomes a 4 team. Snow or Navarro? I would probably put Navarro in, but I have a feeling the pollsters would move Snow into the top 4. So I can't necessarily pick the spots, but if you got a bunch of 2-loss teams, I'm putting Georgia Military, Iowa Western, Snow, and Navarro in the top 4.
But then the argument, Hutch beat Iowa Western. How do you get around that?
Happened very early in the year. It was a what? Was it an OT game or right there at the end of the ball game? So, polls are kind of, although they're a picture of the entire season, they are kind of a snapshot of what is happening at that particular moment in time. And in this particular case, I think Hutch drops out. But that's just me.
I think the way it would shake out for me is number 1 would be Georgia Military. If in fact this was a scenario with 2 losses, I think Iowa Western with the 2 losses would lose a road game, so they'd probably fall to the 3 line. Who would go on the 2? Tough call. I don't think East Central would make it. I just don't. Again, I just don't think they would have the. It takes a lot to push your team. You need the president, the AD, the commissioner, the coach. You really got to start pushing for it now. I don't know, because they're new to getting into a postseason at the national level. I don't know if they do that. So I think if it came to a 2-loss scenario, Snow would find its way in, and I think it'd be Iowa Western, and then I think Hutch would be out because they lost so late. So I think Navarro would get it because it'd be a Texas team. So I would say the committee would go the 4 teams: Georgia Military, it'd be Iowa Western, then it would be Snow and Navarro. I would think that's how it would shake out, just because of the timing. They say timing is everything. Now, how do I think it's going to happen? I think Northwest takes care of business Saturday. They're going to get in. I think Iowa Western wins their football game. The 50-50 game for me is Garden City and Hutch. No idea. I'm not even going to pick it because I don't know who's going to win that game. So that's how I see it shaking out. I think Iowa Western gets a home game. If Northwest wins, you got to see how the rest of the table sets to see what slot they are in. But I think Georgia Military, either way, is locked, either at the number 2 with a home game, or they'll go number 1 with a home game if Iowa Western goes down.
I agree on the scenario that you have mentioned in regards to everybody except I'm thinking Hutch is in. Again, of course, they got to win these games. Now, I'm talking like they've won them. They've got to win these football games on Saturday, but I'm still thinking at the moment Iowa Western, Georgia Military, Hutch, and Northwest Mississippi are your 4 in.
And look, I want to say on East Central, you go back and watch the tape, I had East Central getting a playoff spot. Now, I had him as the number 2 seed out of the South. What Jonathan Webster has done, he's a terrific balance. That's a good football team. Mississippi, that football game will not be a rout. That will be a very close football game. Those are 2 good coaches and 2 good teams. So that being said, I still think Northwest is the edge. And in that conference down there, Robert, until you knock off the big boys, I'm not going against them. The big 4 to me are Northwest and East Mississippi, and then in the South Mississippi Gulf Coast and Jones. Even though Jones is not in the playoff picture this year, that's the barometer. That's what you measure down there when you want to win football games. In Texas, it's wide open, man, wide open. But if Navarro wins, that's their only path for the SWJCFC. Their only chance to get in is Navarro's got to win those 2 games, and then get a little bit of help and hope they're on that 2-loss bubble with a handful of other teams.
Agreed.
All right, let's go to our rush powered by Pepsi as we take a look here at our games here. I've got East Central at Northwest. Give me the Rangers of Northwest. Cisco and Navarro. I like Landon Vessel, but I also like Mason Shorb. I also like Navarro. I think they're playing really well. Give me Navarro.
I've got my games of the week, East Central and Northwest, just like you do, and I'm going with Northwest. I'm going with the other semifinals in the SWJCFC, and that is Navarro and Cisco, and I'm picking the Bulldogs.
And you're taking who?
The Bulldogs of
Oh,
Navarro.
okay. All right. Very good. Very good. There are the games. A lot of great JUCO football this weekend. Check it out. If you get a chance to go to a game, definitely go. If not, check it out online. These are really good football players, good football games. Looking forward to watching them this weekend. That's a wrap on the JUCO Rush for Robert Williamson down in Florala, Alabama. I'm Mike Frazier here in downtown Chicago. We thank you so much for watching the JUCO Rush. We also thank Pepsi, our proud partner of the JUCO Rush. Until next week, so long, everybody.